is Medicine and True Crime Podcast. I'm Kara here with Stu. Say hey, Stu.
Hey.
All right, so we are back again with another episode out of Louisiana, Stu. We're going.
Holy cow, where's that at?
We're going home. Plenty of crazy in Louisiana, but, you know, we don't want to focus, like, just on Louisiana, but we're circling back, you know. Circling back.
Circle back, girl.
Yep, circle back. Hey, I ain't no circle back girl, okay? All right, that's a early 2000s reference for all you youngins out there. By who, Fergie?
Oh, Jesus. How am I telling you about pop music?
Gwen
Stefani.
Oh, Stu's other crush. Stu has a crush on, like, Gwen Stefani and Fergie. It's very strange, because I look nothing like either one of them.
No, you don't.
I'm not his type, actually. Anyways, so...
Well...
All right, so we're going to Louisiana, and I actually found, what's funny is I had researched this case, and then I found there's another podcast, dude, just down the road from us, up in, near Baton Rouge, and I was researching this case, and then I had written this one, and then I found this new one called Let the Good Crimes Roll, and they're up there in Baton Rouge, and they covered it too, so if you guys want to check out another Louisiana podcast about true crime, go check out Let the Good Crimes Roll.
Now, what do? Do they talk like us?
They're a little more... I'll tell you what. You listen to ours. If you want less F words, less cats meowing in the background, and less inappropriateness, then go listen to them, and it's like... They're still funny, though. They still cuss occasionally, and they still say some inappropriate things, just not quite this level. But still funny.
So what do? They just...
Oh, they watch they watch a show, and they just they do their podcast just based off what the show provides and stuff like that. So it's like watching true crime shows or documentaries and then talking about the case.
So they'll just watch it and then comment on the show that they watched?
Yeah, or like walk you through the show. But anyways, it's a good podcast.
So you don't have to sit there and watch it. You can listen to them while you're on the
show. Some of the stuff, and then some of them I've listened to, I'm like, oh, I need to go watch that show on Netflix. It was like, I was like, man, this is interesting. So I actually found a lot of different shows. But anyway, so just wanted to show some. So go listen to them and give them a review. Anyways, they don't even know about us, so whatever.
Oh, well.
All right, so let's get into. Oh, before we start though, we have the Patreon. We appreciate. We've been getting some new patrons, and we're very, very thankful for all of you. We are working on additional content to be out. We're try to get more regular, get more tiers, all that stuff, and really build up the Patreon and the content on that. And then rate, review, subscribe. Instagram, like us or whatever it is on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Is it follow or like? It's like on Facebook. No idea. Anyway, so if you can support us that way too.
So basically right now our Patreon is just a tip jar.
Yeah, a tip for all this hard work we do for you guys.
Don't tug on Superman's cape is not the tip we want.
Yeah. All right. So getting into tonight's case out of Louisiana. Thomas Edward Talley was born in 1972 in Illinois. His family would soon move to Slidell, Louisiana, which is about 30 minutes outside New Orleans to the northeast. Thomas was described as being a good student, making honor roll several times. He played sports and was very even-keeled. You would never see him like get mad or lash out at anyone. Just all around good guy. Now Thomas was also a very hard worker. As soon as he was old enough to mow lawns or do odd jobs, he was out there like hustling. Like I gotta scroll, walking through the neighborhoods, trying to find people to do odds and ends for as a teenager. Now sometime in the early 2000s, Thomas began working at a Pizza Hut in Covington, Louisiana, which is another small town just outside of New Orleans, across Lake Pontchartrain, but directly north. So just to get you a little rundown of, like, if you're not familiar with the area, Slidell and Covington, they're like two little towns that people from New Orleans usually end up moving to, basically, when they're done with their partying days and they want to start a family or live like more of a quieter life, like a suburban life.
Like you want to buy a house that's not sharing a wall.
Yeah, and like they're like real cute, like pretty towns and everything like that. But you still have like quick access to New Orleans. So if you still want to get your groove on, go to a Saints game, do all that stuff, you can just do a quick trip over the bridge.
Over the bridge, south on the Pontchartrain.
Like Pontchartrain, yeah. And get over there. So this is where he kind of ended up Thomas kind of ended up settling was over there in Covington, which isn't too far from Slidell where he grew up.
Or New Orleans.
But very far from Illinois, Stuart. Very far.
Yeah, and it's still about 2 hours from where we are, so.
Illinois?
No, Covington.
That's what I said. I said he's very far from Illinois, which is where he was born.
Yeah.
You don't listen.
I do listen.
This is your problem.
What?
This is all of our problems.
Huh?
Anyways, so he's working at the Pizza Hut over in Covington, and while he was working there, he met Kendra Wilson. Now, Kendra was a pretty girl with she had like red curly hair, not like carrot top hair, like a pretty auburn type hair. She was fun and happy, and she liked to party. She liked to party with Thomas, so they're having a good old time. Now, Kendra was about 8 years younger than Thomas, and Thomas fell for her hard, Stu. Hard.
Really?
In more than one way.
Broke
hard.
his knees hard.
Now, the romance, it quickly escalated when Thomas bought a house in Covington and invited Kendra to move in with him. The couple had lots of friends and threw parties at the house every night, and Jinx is meowing again. We're working on a room to like record this in. We just don't have it yet where we can shut these animals out. But until then, we're going to take a pause real quick and go give Jinx what he needs. All right, I think Jinx might be happy for the moment. He's not a mistreated cat. He had already been given, he's eaten dinner. He snacks all day. He's eaten dinner. He just got a snack, and then he still wanted second dinner. And he's on like special food because he doesn't absorb nutrients properly. Like, he's just high maintenance.
Yeah. Expensive ass, high
He's an
maintenance
expensive ass cat. Anyway, so he is spoiled, but all right, Stu, let's continue with this podcast.
And it is my turn.
It is your turn.
Okay.
Okay.
In February of 2002, the partying was about to come to an end. Dum dum dum.
You sound like a ID channel episode.
Yes. Let me get my best. What's his face? What's your boyfriend's name?
Keith Morrison?
Yeah. And then the partying would come to an end. Kendra took a pregnancy test, and it was positive.
And then she took 10 more. No.
Though surprising, they both seemed excited for this new adventure in their lives. Soon after finding out she was pregnant...
you just got to just be like, okay, this is happening.
Yeah, roll with the punches. And that's what they did. Because soon after finding out that Kendra was pregnant, Thomas did propose to her in front of their friends and family. At this time, Kendra was 22 and Thomas was 30.
Yeah.
They were married later in the year, and they welcomed their first child. They kept on going. A boy at the end of the year.
No, they didn't keep going. It was just their first child. Their first child, you just say that,
Why would
Stuart.
you say first child?
Because it was their first child.
Okay.
What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you?
Anyways, we just mentioned the age gap because we have anything against it, but 22 and 30, I feel like once you get a little bit up there, then it's less. But 22 and 30, there's some maturity issues.
Okay, Kara.
But I'm just a pot calling the kettle black, so it's
Yes,
fine.
you are. Yes,
Times
you
two.
are. Times 2 or 3.
For 1 weekend in October. All right, where were we at?
Well, to their friends and family, Kendra and Thomas seemed very happy. Thomas doted on his son, and Kendra seemed happy with her new family. Now, on December 10th, 2004, a couple years later, it was a Friday, Thomas had surgery to remove all 4 of his wisdom teeth. Now, if you ever get your wisdom teeth removed, they give you a little couple good drugs, get you through the weekend, little painkillers, drink that with a little something.
No.
Yeah. Now, he was miserable afterwards because evidently he didn't drink his painkillers with a little something.
No, it's just miserable. Fun fact, Stuart, I only 3 of my my wisdom teeth ever came in. I finally had them removed when I was like old.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have any, because, like dental insurance, they don't pay for the full thing. They only pay for like a small portion. So when I was young, my parents didn't have enough money to get them like removed, and they would bother me. So when I was older, I was like, okay, I need to get them removed. But then I was too cheap to pay to go under. Mm-hmm. So I had them removed, and they were impacted and had to do something called a bone graft. I don't even know what that is, but it sounded it was all disturbing.
Yes, it was. And she cried.
Oh, I cried. It was bad. Anyways.
Well, they kept getting infected, so.
No,
Or
infected.
Didn't you have bone, like something like happening with your wisdom teeth? Or was that just
No, that was
friends?
before they used to get like inflamed, I guess. I don't know. And they would throb and like give me headaches and stuff. They were just a mess.
But you only had 3?
I only had 3.
Well, that's probably a product of inbreeding. Being from Oklahoma, though.
Shut up. Oh.
So anyway.
Does it mean I'm less wise?
No, it doesn't. So anyway, since he's feeling miserable, Kendra's got this baby. Then she's got this grown-ass man who's being a baby about his wisdom teeth, I guess.
Hey,
So
he has the all rights. That's miserable.
It is miserable.
She should be being such a bitch.
Well, I didn't say she was being a bitch. I'm just saying she was
No,
overwhelmed.
I'm saying she should stop being such a bitch.
I'm just saying she's overwhelmed. I didn't say she was a bitch.
Okay. I'm saying
She's feeling overwhelmed. She decides to head out, and Thomas went to bed taking his pain meds, but no whiskey, evidently. On December 11th, 2004, 911 calls start coming in at about 6 a.m., having heard gunshots in the neighborhood. Police arrive at the Talley residence to find Kendra leaning over Thomas's body. There's blood everywhere. Thomas at the time was still alive. The paramedics started performing CPR, but he would soon expire while lying in the driveway. They didn't even get him in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. Police bring Kendra in and are like, hey,
what the fuck happened, you bitch? I heard you were being a bitch about the wisdom teeth. What happened? Word got out in the neighborhood.
I couldn't take it.
Yeah, so Kendra, she tells police that Thomas was being an asshole after having his wisdom teeth taken out, so she decided to go to New Orleans with friends, which seems like not the best thing for... I don't know if he was being an... I wouldn't describe being upset about, like, or like being in pain from wisdom teeth removal as an asshole, but maybe, I don't know what he was doing.
I mean, you can go over the top, I guess, when you're in pain and be like, hey, bitch, you blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So anyway, so she's...
Or if he was just like in pain, he's like, oh my God, this sucks.
Yeah, just like leave me alone. Like that's the one where you just want it. The wisdom teeth is the one where you just want to be like left alone. Like I remember my mom thought I was like dying. She was like, she kept texting me. She was like, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm bleeding to death. And she's like, oh my God. So, you know, like a mom, she's like calling me all of a sudden. I was like, Mom, I'm being sarcastic. But it really feels like, I didn't realize what happened was, so I was alone. Okay, some of my work involves like driving. Anyways, me and Stuart worked together, but I was out of town for work. I was living out of town for work for a while. Anyways, so I was living out of town. I got my wisdom teeth removed. So I was by myself. So I had to drive my like self home, but I never did like the drugs or anything. So I was 100% aware. But I went into the Walgreens to get my pain medication, and I didn't realize how bad I was bleeding. And I got back in the car, and I had blood dripping all down my face, Stuart. And I was wondering why people were looking at me in this Walgreens. And I'm just standing there. There's just blood dripping down my face. And I didn't even realize because my face was numb from the... Mm-hmm. So I didn't even know. And I'm like, oh my God. So anyways, it was a traumatic... I understand where Thomas was coming from. It's a traumatic experience. So back on track. So she says that she left Thomas and he was taking medicine and just sleeping. And their son was at her mother's house. She called up her friend Tommy Rowell, who was 36 at the time, to pick her up. They headed into New Orleans, and they drank and partied at a bar. They then decided to go to a Waffle House around 3 a.m., Stuart, which is...
That's where you
go after
you've been drinking.
It's a requirement.
Scattered all the way.
Yeah.
Except I don't like mushrooms, so...
Oh, is that what they... You know what, to be honest with you, I haven't been to that many Waffle Houses.
What?
Yeah.
Huh?
No.
Huh?
I'm not like, tell the Uber driver to go through the Taco Bell at 3 a.m. and order like the 45 different tacos and then pass out before you even got to eat one.
And then you wake up rolling around in the wrappers.
I also have been to like Whataburger's, one of our ones that we would end up stopping at. Mm-hmm. Yep. Tell them to drop us off at the Whataburger.
24 hours right there.
Yep, that's a good time.
That's some good eating. Or it used to be.
It's still, they were purchased by those Yankees up there.
Yes, up in Chicago.
Oh, God. It all comes full circle. Thomas was born in Illinois.
Yeah. Quality has gone downhill at the Whataburger.
Yeah.
I got to say, it has.
All right, so this is when Kendra says that she told Tommy, who was just a family friend, she says, that Thomas had raped her.
What?
Yes. Now, this made Tommy extremely upset. Now, we're saying Thomas and Tommy. Thomas is the husband. Tommy is the friend. This made Tommy extremely upset, and he said he wanted to seek revenge on Thomas. So Kendra, she tries to calm him down, but he's just completely enraged whenever he hears this. They left the Waffle House, and they headed back to Covington. Now, Kendra said that she was afraid and wanted out of the truck, but Tommy would not let her.
This is all bullshit.
What?
Because if you ate at the Waffle House, you're not leaving the Waffle House enraged. You're leaving the Waffle House happy as shit. I don't care what story you heard. You ate your hash browns scattered, whatever, however you liked them. You ate your breakfast dish, whatever the hell you got. You left happy. You're not enraged when you left the Waffle House.
You're like, yes, I was raped, but my stomach is satisfied. We're good.
So Tommy's not enraged. He's like, that's a sad story, Kendra, but I just had some Waffle House.
We're joking about it because we're going to circle back.
Don't
That's
be
our
no
theme.
circle back, girl.
That's our theme for that. We're going to circle back, and this is going to end up being bullshit. Anyway, so is
it?
Yes.
I haven't read all the way to the end, so.
So Tommy, so she says that she's afraid and everything. She wants out of the truck, but Tommy wouldn't let her. He then tied her hands to the steering wheel, and he continues to drive about 10 to 15 miles towards the Talley home.
Kendra and Tommy arrive at the Talley house. Talley. Funny name. You know, in Ireland, they call it tallywhacker when it's your
Stuart.
thing down low.
Oh, my God. What is wrong with you?
What?
Just come. Oh, my God.
Okay.
Go.
Well, I had to get my last funny in because shit's about to get real.
Yeah, we're about to get into the dark side.
Yes. So they're outside the house. Tommy begins honking the horn. Now, this caused Thomas to come out of the house, and it is just before 6 a.m. Now, if I'm
early, I'm pissed off, let me tell you.
If I'm a neighbor, I'm pissed off because I hate...
Neighbor, if I'm Thomas, he's had surgery on his mouth. His wife is MIA, and all of a sudden he hears honking in his driveway before 6 a.m.? No.
You know what enrages me?
What?
Whenever you have a neighbor and somebody shows up
you can
at their
just stop
house,
there for me whenever you have a neighbor.
Yes.
That's what enrages me. Neighbor.
Yes. A neighbor does enrage me, but whenever somebody shows up at the neighbor's house and they honk their horn like it's a fucking doorbell,
yeah,
I'm just like, are you
well,
fucking
nobody
serious
does that
right
in
now?
our neighborhood.
Not here now.
I know.
People in our other neighborhood did such things.
All right, so we had to cut off Stu's rant because he just kept on and on and on. Would you like to continue the podcast?
No, they deserve
No,
the death
I don't
penalty,
want to
but
talk
okay.
about it. Let's go.
So when Thomas steps into the driveway, Kendra said that Tommy pushed her down because she was supposedly sitting in the passenger seat so he could fire his weapon through the passenger window. He then got out of the car and he shot Thomas 2 more times while he was laying there bleeding, evidently, according to Kendra. He let Kendra out and drove away, leaving Kendra with her dying husband.
Yeah, so this is what she's describing is a very messed up situation where she's just got this family friend. They went out partying, like nonchalant, like everything's cool.
He wants to protect her.
Having just a friend, wants to protect her. He's upset. And then all of a sudden it escalates to like, I want to kill the husband.
In the driveway, and then I'm going to leave you there, and then I'm
leave the wife like there and just like drive off. It's an odd situation, and police are like,
is this story really adding up? So all the evidence at the scene that the police had investigated so far seemed to line up with what Kendra said.
Just like the initial looking at it, what
ballistics.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, no, they hadn't even ran the ballistics. They just looking at the crime scene just initially without any type of forensic investigation. They're like, okay, because this is within the first hour or two of this, so they haven't ran any type of crime scene investigation or anything like that.
Well, they loaded up. They headed to Sun, Louisiana to arrest Tommy Rowell, who was barricaded up in his trailer.
Now, I read the court documents and it said Sun, Louisiana, but one of the shows I watched said Bogalusa, Stuart?
Yeah, Bogalusa.
Bogalusa, Louisiana.
Yeah,
which is a little further than Sun, Louisiana.
It's a little further north, a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the toothbrush was invented.
Oh, the toothbrush store?
Yeah, because if it would have been invented anywhere else, it'd be called a teeth brush.
Oh, okay. So that's a joke that they have.
That's a Louisiana joke. Yeah,
poor dental
because,
hygiene.
Bogaloo is kind of
They have no
backwater.
teeth.
Because everybody's got their backwater community.
And Bogalusa is Louisiana's, which is saying a lot because
there's a lot of backwater communities around here.
Yes. All right.
Around here. Now, the police were hoping this would go down without a shootout. Now, all right, first off, if you're going to hole up in a brick house. If you're holing up in a mobile home,
it's not going to end well for you.
No, you got 1/4 inch outer, 1/4 inch inner with some insulation in between. Yeah.
I've seen this situation play out on Coco Melon with the Three Little Pigs do. Okay.
Yeah, it did not work out well for the Three Little Pigs till they got on the steel steamship.
Yep.
Just like old Tommy. So, Popos wanted this to go down without a shootout. We're in a trailer, so police
With the crazy guy, it's not looking good, who just murdered somebody, according to Kendra.
Well, the police got the upper hand because you just start throwing Browns.
Okay, all right. So, anyways.
Throw a trailer home, you're going to get the fella.
Yeah.
Now, Tommy's sister had called and told him the police were coming to kill him and to take care of himself.
Great sister. Mm-hmm. Really, all-star. Mm-hmm.
He loaded all of his guns. I don't know how many that was. And he had them on the bed already to go. So he's like ready to go down swinging.
Yeah, Waco style.
Yeah. When police arrive, they tell him
Ruby Ridge.
That Thomas
Don't get me started on the conspiracy theories.
Oh, my
Oh, God.
Is it really a conspiracy theory if it comes true?
I don't know, Stu.
When police arrive, they tell him that Thomas was not dead, just injured.
Yeah, so it's like a far less charge than murder.
I'm not quite dead.
No, they're saying they're like, oh, you didn't actually kill Thomas. Like, everything's good.
That was a Monty Python reference.
Okay, I don't know. Anyways, well, just like, you don't get my Friends references? I don't get that.
What is Friends?
Well, what is Monty Python? Is that a snake? Is that a snake exhibit at the zoo? I don't know, Stuart.
Or in my pants.
Is the Monty the zoo snake? Oh, my God. Oh, Jesus. Anyways.
Keep it up. So they tell him that Thomas wasn't quite dead. He was just mostly dead. And that this was far less charges than murder.
Oh, my God.
We're
getting canceled.
Yeah, that was a Princess Bride reference.
I thought it was an Alien reference. That's the one I know. They mostly come out at night. Mostly.
Mostly. No, since you ain't never seen the Princess Bride.
I have not.
No.
And I'm proud of that fact.
It's been played. You just ignored it.
I just ignored it.
Yes. So anyway.
Out of principle at this point, I'm just going to die without having seen it at this point, just to really stick it to you.
Well, that's why I hate Friends to this day, just on the general principle. Even if I ever found it funny, I would never tell you.
All right, well.
That's where we're at.
We're just going to stop now.
And we're at the point where the police are just hoping to de-escalate the situation with Tommy.
Also with our situation with the Friends thing and Princess Bride, and also with Tommy. They're trying to de-escalate.
Mm-hmm. Now, to their surprise, the police's surprise, Tommy he's like, hey, I'm coming out. He gives up, and he admits to the shooting of Thomas.
Yep, just flat out just says, I did this, and I'm not going to try to get in a Ruby Ridge situation with you guys. I'm just done.
That's not even close to what happened at Ruby Ridge.
I know exactly what happened at Ruby Ridge, Stuart. Yes.
No, you don't.
Because I listened to the last podcast on the left, and I know exactly what happened. And they do much more research than we do.
Do they?
Yes.
Or do their people do more research than
we do? They do their research. Don't start, Stuart. Don't start something that you don't want to be nothing, okay?
I think you're incorrect. But
I think you're an idiot.
We ain't got time to relitigate Ruby Ridge right now. So continue, Ms. Ma'am.
Police, they felt that something was missing from this story.
No
obviously,
shit.
We can all see that something's missing from this story.
There's gaping holes in this story.
Yes. So they spoke to friends and family a little more, and they found out that the home life was just not as great for Kendra and Thomas as she put out there, or even him. Like they were trying to sell it.
Thomas was like loving being a husband and a father, and Kendra's like, holy shit.
I'm a wife and a mother.
I didn't think the end of my party days would come to this.
Okay, well, let's just see if that's where this all goes.
I'm almost positive this is where this
All
goes.
right, so Kendra had apparently not changed her partying ways.
Shut your face.
She still went out all the time, and Thomas was actually described by friends and family as a house husband, which is Stu's dream job.
It is.
Just to stay at home pet parent.
I tried to get stay at
It's
home
not
pet parent.
happening. So anyway, so Thomas is wanting this type of lifestyle and the family life, and Kendra's still wanting to go out and do her thing. Now, when she left the house on that Friday, she was wearing a sweater, t-shirt, and jeans, but she quickly changed into a blouse, black miniskirt, and knee-high boots. So she went from Covington to New Orleans, too.
She went down the French Quarter.
She went bourbon on us.
French Quarter.
Yeah. So they also spoke to some friends that had gone out with Tommy and Kendra named Susan and Keith. Now, remember, Tommy is the friend that she went out partying with. Thomas is the husband. So Tommy and Kendra, they go out with Susan and Keith that night in New Orleans. And Susan and Keith, they tell police that while in New Orleans, Kendra and Tommy were drinking beer, smoking marijuana, and doing crystal meth. So the first two are like nonchalant. Oh, they were drinking beer, smoking marijuana. Oh, and doing some meth. Just casual.
Just what friends do.
Yeah. So they spent their time in the French Quarter downing hand grenades. And if you've ever been if you've ever been to Bourbon Street, then the hand grenades are look like lime green, and it's like a phallic shaped hand grenade type thing.
Well, it comes in a
It looks like a hand grenade, but it's a long tube in between.
Because you gotta get enough of your drink, yeah.
Yeah,
what a big ass straw.
Yeah, so you know a hand grenade when you coming from a mile away on Bourbon Street. So they're down in these hand grenades, and there's a lot of sugar in there. It's not a good hangover.
Give you a hangover.
It's not good, and when it comes up, it's not good either.
No.
So they spent most of their night at a bar called the Tropical Isle on Bourbon Street. I'm sure we've probably been there. We don't go to New Orleans too often though, but we used to, but not as much anymore. Now, the friends recall Kendra and Tommy getting into an argument when Kendra gave a man some Mardi Gras beads and then exposed herself by lifting her leg up on the railing. So she gave she didn't give the boobies. She gave much more. Now, ladies, if you go to Mardi Gras and you want some beads, you don't even have to expose yourself at all. They'll just give them to you, okay? Just FYI. So anyway, so they're getting in this fight out here. And it's quite obvious to police at this point that these two were more than just friends. They learned that Tommy and Kendra had known each other for several years. Tommy was a friend of Kendra's dad, and he had met Kendra when she was only 15 and he was 27. Now, Kendra and Tommy, they began having a relationship, but her parents, they didn't approve, quite obviously, because it's illegal and disgusting, and Tommy's obviously a predator. So they ended up breaking up and everything like that. And so when she met Thomas, she decided to be with him instead, as her parents liked him more because he's age appropriate. It's not illegal. He's a hard worker. All these things. He's a family guy. They could see their daughter being with her. Kendra, however, she could just not stay away from Tommy. And about a year before Thomas was murdered, just after their son was born, she starts this affair back up with Tommy. So she's of age at this point, but still, I mean, it's not appropriate because she obviously was manipulated as a teenager by this adult. And so now thinks she's in love with him, and she started this relationship back up with him, and all hell breaks loose.
Now, while police are interviewing friends of Kendra, Tommy is telling quite a different story about the night of the murder. He goes through about partying with Kendra and her telling him that Thomas raped her. They then drove from the Waffle House to Tommy's house in Bogalusa and then back to Covington. When they arrived at the home, Kendra was not tied up or locked in the truck, according to Tommy. She was actually sitting on the console in the middle of the truck right next to Tommy. So when Thomas comes out of the house, Tommy is saying that Kendra was the one that shot at him 4 times.
No.
Yeah. Now, Tommy says that was not the plan, but Kendra shocked him when she opened fire through the passenger side window.
Now, he never clarifies during this thing whether he had intended to kill Thomas or whatever.
No.
He's just saying So I don't know if the plan was for them to scare him or whatever, but Kendra
was
definitely
not to
went
scare
off
him.
script.
No, it was not to scare him. I'm thinking that
Tommy had planned to kill him, and then Kendra went rogue.
Yeah, I think she went rogue. She's like, fuck this motherfucker, I'm killing him.
Yeah.
So, Tommy says that
But Thomas wasn't a motherfucker, though.
Thomas was not a motherfucker.
No.
Tommy was.
Yes, but you're saying Kendra was like, fuck this motherfucker.
Yeah, because she was there to kill him.
Yeah, because she wanted just rid of him.
Yeah. So, Tommy said that he then got out of the car and that he finished off Thomas. Tommy told them that they actually had 2 guns that they had used to kill Thomas.
So with this information, they go back to forensic to see what they had unearthed. Because like we said at the beginning, just an hour or so after the murder had occurred, everything was lining up with what Kendra had said. But now that he's mentioned these 2 different guns, they're like, okay, well, we need forensics to look at these bullet casings that were left behind and see what's going on. So the coroner's report shows that Thomas was shot in the chest, head, shoulder, hip, and groin with 2 different caliber guns, a 9mm and a .45 caliber. The 9mm gunshot wounds were all in the body, and the 2 larger bullets were in the head. So this is looking like old Tommy is telling the truth. When looking at those types of guns, they realized that the guns that were used lined up with the ones that were that Tommy had in his truck, a 9mm Ruger and a .45 caliber Llama. And with that's the story that he had told. Like, even though like Kendra seems like the more reliable witness to all this and stuff, because Tommy obviously is like a pedophile and a drug addict, and Kendra is supposedly like the nice mom and wife and everything, that Tommy's looking like the one's telling the truth, actually. So they also took issue with her not having any glass on her. Like, whenever they came on the crime scene, she has no glass from the window or anything that she said it was shot through. The passenger seat had glass all over it, as well as the floorboard with her knee-high boots in there. It was like trashy, you know.
Yeah, so she's saying
she's taking her knee-high boots.
She's saying she was sitting in the passenger seat with her knee-high boots on.
No, she didn't say she had her knee-high boots on, but she just...
And then Tommy pushed her down so that he could shoot through the window.
Yeah, so if he does that and the passenger seat has glass all over it, you would think she'd have shards of glass all in her hair, in her clothing, everything like that. It more lines up with what Tommy said, that she's not actually sitting in the passenger seat. She's sitting like a trashy bitch on the console, because you know them trashy bitches, them redneck bitches, sit on the console next to their man. So they can do whatever.
That's where the good girl sit, next to the man.
Well, I'm a bad girl.
You are. You don't sit on the console.
No, that's trashy, Stuart, and unsafe all as well.
Yeah, there ain't no seatbelt there.
So anyway, so nothing Kendra says, like, she should have thought of her story a little bit better, because nothing she said the actual evidence lines up with.
Are you trying to tell me that you think Kendra is full of shit?
Yes.
Oh, stop
massively
it.
So.
Well, with the information the police received, they bring Kendra back in for questioning, and she brings a lawyer with her.
Smart girl. I will say it's the only thing she did right in this whole situation.
I mean, if you're
it doesn't matter. Yes, get a lawyer. Don't worry about people think, oh, it looks suspicious. No, in today's world, we all know if you're getting questions about anything like that, get a freaking lawyer.
Yeah, you say something off the cuff, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, I guess you're guilty."
Yeah, I watched that the documentary. You'll have to watch it too. We're thinking about doing like a thing where we watch true crime documentaries and then run through them and stuff like that and give our opinions and stuff. So that'd be like a Patreon thing. But anyways, one of those was the Killer Sally on Netflix, about the bodybuilder who killed her bodybuilder husband or whatever. Yeah. And she just went in like thinking she was just going to be like, this is self-defense. He's a crazy person. She just says, yeah, I murdered him and everything like that. She didn't get a lawyer, and things didn't turn out too well for her. No. So yeah, get a lawyer right off the bat.
Yeah, they'll tell you to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, they'll be like, stop.
Don't talk. Don't talk to nobody.
Yeah. Except for Kendra's lawyer, he was terrible. We'll get into that.
Was he terrible, or was he like, oh my God, this bitch really wants these people to believe this?
No, he wasn't even like a defense attorney. He was, but we'll go into that anyways.
Well,
we'll get into it right now.
His past the bar at the bar.
The Louisiana style.
Yeah, he went down to Bourbon Street and passed the bar.
Yeah.
So they bring Kendra back into questioning with her lawyer, obviously. They begin by having her go through her story again, specifically the part where she is tied to the steering wheel. They tell her that this does not really make any sense because if he was driving, every time he turned the steering wheel, she would be pulled with it. Yeah, so if he zip ties her or ties her to the steering wheel, every time he turns the wheel,
she's getting yanked one way or the other and probably messing him up while he's trying to drive. And like we said earlier, he drove 10 or 15 miles with her tied like this, supposedly.
Yeah, so basically if you're going to tie someone to the steering wheel, the worst place to be is, I mean, this is
dumb. It's all dumb.
Yeah, if you're kidnapping somebody and you're tying them to the steering wheel, you're an idiot.
Have they not seen any, like, anything? You tie them to the door or whatever, to the door thing. Well, even that's a bad idea.
Yeah. It's all bad.
We'll have to think about how you would strap someone into a car.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. You bubble wrap them, you tape them with some duct tape, you throw them in the back of the truck or in the trunk. Or
bubble wrap them?
Bubble wrap them. They can't move.
Do you have experience with this?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That's how we used to haze people whenever they got into the unit in the military.
Okay, well they don't do that stuff anymore,
roll
Stuart.
Them up in the bubble
and
wrap,
you're the problem with you're why we have problems in America right now. Okay.
So I've heard they used to bubble wrap people when they hazed them whenever they got to a new unit.
All right, well let's move on to like what our case.
Actual stuff.
Yes.
Well, Kendra tries to explain the old I'm tied to the steering wheel excuse away. But it's not going well.
No.
Not at all. So she's having a real difficult time doing it. Her lawyer is of no help whatsoever.
When we say get a lawyer, we mean a defense attorney, not like
a competent attorney.
Not like a family attorney.
Not
someone who writes up wills and
Biddy.
some like wills and or does like an ambulance chase or whatever. We mean like a hardcore defense attorney.
Yeah, if you're up for murder, you want to get somebody that might have a little something going on in the arena. So it was so bad that at one point the lawyer started asking Kendra questions, and when she would stumble, he would basically say, "Well, that don't make no sense." It's like Kendra, dude, you're my lawyer.
But she's just responding to him. Like, you can see the video of the police interrogation. It did seem like he might be another detective in there because he's like, Kendra, this doesn't make any sense, what you're saying. Could you please explain further? And it's like, what is wrong with you? Have you not seen any type of documentary or Dateline episode? Tell her to stop talking, and we're not answering any more questions unless my client's under arrest.
Yeah, well, Kendra continued to change her story about the timeline and where they went. One time, she was stating that they went to Taco Bell.
My poison of choice?
Yes, it is. They also took issue with the part where she said she was locked in the truck and could not get out. Yeah, so basically what she's saying is that she got kitty locked in there or something where, on the back doors on your passenger vehicle, you can flip the little switch so the kids can't just open the door while you're sitting at a red light or something. So basically, Kendra's saying that she was pulling on the door, but she couldn't get out. Now, when the police are checking the truck, it didn't have a locking mechanism on the passenger side on the front of the truck.
Yeah, so
they
don't know
if it's a four-door. I don't think it's a four-door.
No, but the point is they checked the truck and it just didn't have that mechanism. So what she was saying was a lie. She could have gotten out of the truck.
She also said that whatever she was saying, the police are like, well, your phone was right next to you. Why didn't you call for help? And she's like,
if you're locked in a truck with a guy that's like on a vengeance to go kill your husband, and your phone's laying right there, and you claim that you're locked into the truck and you're tied up or you can't do this or whatever, and you're sitting there, and you obviously were let out of the vehicle at some point because you were found over your husband's body. Why didn't you use your phone to call for help at any point? And she just stumbles over this. Yeah,
she tripping over logs, basically. So at the end of the interview, the detective tells Kendra's lawyer he is free to go, but that Kendra is not because she's being arrested for the murder of Thomas Talley.
Checkmate. So it would be 3 years until the trial of Tommy Rao would occur. In the fall of 2007, Tommy went through his story, stating exactly as he had 3 years prior to the police. It was revealed during the trial that Tommy was obsessed with Kendra. This is a long standing thing.
Well, he groomed her for...
Yeah, from at 15.
Yeah, he was a groomer. So let's not let Tommy off the hook.
Oh, yeah, Tommy's a terrible human.
Yeah, Kendra wasn't a siren.
Kendra's not great either, but...
She wasn't no siren. He was a groomer. He was grooming this girl from God knows when.
Yeah, and in one of the shows, one of the ladies interviewed from the town was like, Kendra was a gorgeous girl. Okay, that's a little generous. Okay, I saw pictures of her. She was average at best.
Well, she was gorgeous for the town.
For Bogalusa. She had all her teeth.
She had more than one teeth.
She had more than one tooth.
She needed a teeth brush, not a toothbrush.
So she was a gorgeous girl. Anyway, so it's revealed that he's been obsessed with Kendra for a long time. In his home, he had a picture of Kendra, himself, and Kendra's son, Zachary. And he told everyone that he had plans to marry Kendra and that she was going to leave Thomas. So this is like a weird family portrait that he had of them. And on October 25th, 2007, Tommy was found guilty of second-degree murder, which carried an automatic life sentence.
So now it's time for prosecutors to put Kendra on trial. So they bring her case up. They tried to convince Tommy that he needed to testify against Kendra, but he would not budge. He's already got a life sentence.
He doesn't care anymore.
He doesn't give two shits.
He's just trying to look out for Kendra now because he's obsessed with her.
Yeah. So it seemed that he was perfectly content in taking the brunt of the punishment, and he let Kendra get away with as little of the consequences possible. Which is confusing to police because he said that she shot him from the console in the truck, but now he's trying to protect her. So he throws her under the bus.
Yeah, I don't know why he told him.
Take him out.
Yeah, I don't know why he ratted at her out in the first place and didn't just take full responsibility, and then she could have walked free completely. But he didn't, and then he backtracked, and he's like, well, I'm not going to testify against her.
Well, maybe he was mad at her at one point, and he's like, no, I love her.
Yeah, he probably had to mull over it, and he's like, no, remember when she was 15, I was 27, and I was disgusting.
And I was grooming her. Yeah, I love that girl. So after several years, they finally planned to go to trial in November of 2010. At this point, Kendra had been in prison for almost 6 years. The prosecution is kind of in a bad spot. So you're in a spot, you got this girl you want to prosecute. But it's been 6 years. Because you can't get your shit together, because you can't prove she did anything.
Because you can't get the guy to testify against her.
Yeah, you can't get the guy to testify against her. So all their evidence is circumstantial, and the defense could argue that Tommy shot both guns instead of Kendra shooting one and Tommy shooting the other.
And like we said, like if you're a juror looking at this, Kendra is a much more reliable witness than Tommy is. Tommy is a meth-addled, crazy person with like holed up in his house with a bunch of guns and being like grooming 15-year-olds. Like he's a terrible human being. So Kendra is like this nice little mother.
She's
married.
sympathetic.
Yeah, she's sympathetic. She looks all sweet and innocent and all this stuff like that. And she's not. So they're in a bind.
The prosecution is easily seeing how a jury could find reasonable doubt in the case against Kendra. And this kind of worried them. So they decided to work out a plea deal with Kendra. That November, instead of a trial, Kendra pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter and to possession of crystal meth. The judge would hear evidence in the case in determining sentencing, which would not exceed 10 years.
Yep.
So she'd already been in prison for 6 years.
So even if she got the max, she's only got 4 years left. The prosecution, they laid out the case, painting Tommy as being obsessed with Kendra, and Kendra, she played up on that to achieve her goal of killing her husband. So she's using Tommy in this whole situation by saying that Thomas raped her, which was not true, and all these things like that to get Tommy worked up so she could get rid of Thomas. On December 1st, 2010, Kendra was sentenced to the maximum allowed, which was 10 years. However, like we said, with time already served, she would only be in prison for another 4 years. She told her family whenever she decided to go ahead and plead guilty, she said, I'll still have a life. which was completely true because she's only in prison for another 4 years. She was 22 when all this went down. So she's going to be out at 32 and be able to have a full life. So with this obviously was very upsetting to the family and friends in the community of Covington. Basically, we've got this cold-blooded killer who shot Tommy 4 times, manipulated somebody to help her with this crime, is going to be walking among them in just 4 short years. And Tommy, because Tommy wouldn't
flip on her.
Yeah, wouldn't flip on her. And so now they're like, oh crap, this sucks, basically.
Yeah. We can't upgrade this to second or first degree or nothing.
In 2014, Kendra was released after serving out her full sentence at the age of 33. She left Louisiana, but it wasn't clear with anything I could find if she remained in her son's life, who would have been 11 years old when she got out. I'm sure she had some sort of contact with him, but I don't know how involved she was with his life. Tommy Rowell, he appealed his conviction in 2008, citing a assignment of error. And the assignment of error was that he was convicted of second-degree murder. He believes that he should have been tried for manslaughter because at the time of the shooting, his blood had not cooled. Now, this is where I found it interesting because I was like, his blood had not cooled or whatever. Like, this is weird terminology, but that's like in the court documents, that's what they cite. So basically, the definition for manslaughter is a homicide, which would be murder under either Article 30, which is first-degree murder, or Article 30.1, which is second-degree murder. But the offense is committed in such passion or heat of blood immediately caused by provocation sufficient to deprive an average person of his self-control and cool reflection. Provocation shall not reduce a homicide to manslaughter if the jury finds that the offender's blood had actually cooled, or that an average person's blood would have been cooled at the time of the offense was committed. The whole thing, I know that's a bunch of Stu's looking at me like this.
Bunch of bullshit?
Yeah, but I just find it so funny that like the legal term is if their blood had cooled. Like, we're such a litigious society. I can't believe this hasn't been rewritten to...
They had time to calm the fuck down.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It's like literally like they say their blood had been cooled or not cooled. That's what they cite.
Yeah, Louisiana is based on a lot of Napoleonic code, and I'm guessing blood cooled is from the days when Napoleon was still alive.
Yeah, so I just think it's funny that that's still what we're operating on is their blood cooled or not cooled? Because back when they wrote this, they literally thought your blood was either cool, like as in temperature, or hot as in temperature. And that's
I'm so mad.
Yeah, so anyway, so I just thought that was I thought it was crazy, Stu, that was the whole thing.
The defense also tried to argue that Tommy was under the influence of drugs and alcohol, which I don't personally believe is a good excuse. So he was not in his right mind.
Because he voluntarily took those things. He
voluntarily took those things. The state argued that his friend Keith had testified that even though he had taken drugs and alcohol, he was not, quote, messed up. They further used the evidence that he was able to drive to the Waffle House.
The Waffle House will always get you.
Mm-hmm. And then to Kendra's home, then back to his home in Bogalusa where his toothbrush was.
Or son, we don't know.
Now, this indicated that he was not so intoxicated that he had no control. They also argued that he had intent to kill because the 2 shots were directly in the head. They were kill shots. The final nail in his coffin was a recorded phone call from jail he had with his mother where he was going through different theories that he could use to get out of this responsibility for the murder.
Yep. And this included that he was going to try the drug and alcohol defense, saying they had a head injury, saying that Kendra was pushing him, which I think it's funny that when he was talking to his mom, he's like, hey, Mom, maybe we could use the Kendra is pushing him. And then he goes all the way to the other side where he's not even going to testify against her.
I love Kendra. She would never.
So anyway, so all of these arguments failed, resulting in a denial of his appeal. And he's currently serving out his life sentence. With his conviction, he is not eligible for parole. Thank God.
So Tommy, if you're listening to this, Kendra's banging somebody else and you're not in the picture. So
because you're not afraid because he's in jail.
So good job, groomer.
So the family has worked to accept this outcome, and they're trying to forgive Tommy and Kendra for what they did, although it is difficult with Kendra being free because the only thing that it did was we've said in multiple episodes, whenever someone's up for parole, the poor family has to go and relive this every couple of years to try to keep him in. At least Tommy's stuck behind bars for the rest of his life, and they don't have to deal with that.
Supposedly.
But Kendra, the one who started it all, is walking amongst us.
Almost for eight
She's
years.
at the door right now.
9 years now.
Delivering our groceries.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
God.
She could be driving your Uber or your Walmart
Yeah, she could be
delivery
out
or-
there. I don't know. It's probably off of her record at this point for like an Uber thing. Yeah, if you meet someone named Kendra and she's got red curly hair, run. All right, so that's our episode for today, sometime.
This day that we're
time
doing
of
it.
the day of the time we're doing it. Stu hates when I say like tonight or today. I think I've mentioned this multiple
I don't
times.
care.
All right, so I think Stu's gonna get us a Y'all Need Jesus going. Just everyone knows I write the cases, but I have no idea what Stu comes up with this Y'all Need Jesus. This is the one thing he is tasked with for the podcast. So don't judge me on whatever he comes up with. So go, Stu.
Why would you say that? Because you're saying that I've come up some doozies?
Yes, I'm like, oh my God, why are we reading this? What is happening?
Why am I attached to this?
Yes, I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so
Well.
what's your Y'all Need Jesus for this episode?
Michael Harrell slipped a bank teller his name and address during a robbery.
Oh God, Michael.
Now, is he a Florida man or is he a...
That's pretty dumb.
Is this a sunshine law from Florida or is this just an idiot from Minnesota?
Well, but you know what? I'll give him. He knew his name and address, so I'm going to say not Florida.
Ohio man Michael Harrell from the New York Post. He's a few dollars short of a paycheck. A knucklehead Ohio bank robber slipped a teller a hold-up note with his name and address scrawled on it.
Why did he do that?
Well, Michael Harrell is not a smart man.
Did he write that himself, or was it like a St. Jude's, like sent him a label and he actually had it on there, or what?
Well, kind of like most movies and news stories, if you just let me finish, it'll tell you what actually happened.
All right.
Okay?
Shut up, Stuart. You're such an ass.
I am. Michael Harrell, 54, entered a U.S. bank branch in Cleveland, Ohio, on Monday and passed the not-so-discreet note, the FBI said. When the teller took the note and looked at it and looked at the other side, she saw his name. He had used a note that he had used earlier at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles in Ohio, and it had his name and his address on it, according to FBI Special Agent Vicki Anderson. I wonder what Vicky looks like.
Stuart.
What?
What's wrong with you?
Nothing. The teller reportedly complied with his demand and handed Harold $206. I mean, we're talking big money before calling the authorities.
That's like enough to buy some eggs these days.
Yeah, I know, right? She actually even referred to him as Michael while he was robbing the bank.
She's like, yo, Mike.
Gave him the money, called him Michael again.
Did he not put this together in his head?
And then
at the
notified
time?
Lord. No, Michael's not a smart man.
He's not like, how'd you know my name?
I mean, we just got done talking about Kendra. I mean,
Kendra's a dumbass too, so.
Yeah, she was a Lafayette 2, but a Bogalusa 10, so she thought the world was her oyster when she was over in Bogalusa.
Yeah.
So, now, Harold, who was a frequent customer of the bank, has been arrested in the robbery. Now, it's unclear if charges have been filed against him.
I'm sure they will be.
I mean, why wouldn't they not be? I mean, other than like...
Listen, everybody, if you're going to rob a bank, just remember, this is not a local crime. Robbing a bank is a federal crime.
Yes, it is.
The FBI will come in, and they put Vicky, who's probably not even there. They're like, oh, let's throw Vicky a bone, because they're like, oh, he already gave his name and address. Vicky's probably not the best agent.
No.
And so they're like, hey, give it to Vicky. She needs to win. She needs to win.
She needs to win. Now, this was back in August of 2019, so I'm sure, hopefully Michael is still in jail and not, like,
At our
walking and
doorstep.
jaywalking and you're running over him and bending your car up, because he sounds like an idiot that would walk in front of you while you're driving.
Oh, is that how dumb he is, Stuart?
It sounds like it, yes.
Okay, that's not a funny... whatever, so...
Yeah, it's funny. Hopefully that's the way he goes.
All right, so
Michael.
that's our episode for
Was
tonight. I'm
picking
going to
his nose.
cut old Stewart off.
Don't do it.
And that's everything. So, yeah. So, find our Patreon, rate, review, subscribe on iTunes. Like us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, or vice versa, whichever the lingo is that you kids are using these days.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we will see you next time. Bye, everyone. Say bye, Stu.
Bye, Stu.
Don't you know it's bad luck to be superstitious, but nothing else is working